Hey guys, what is up? It's your girl Zap, and in this video, we're going to be talking about my ZapCristal journey of being a retro collector and just collection in general. With me, I have my co-host, TJ the Gamer. He's going to be asking me some questions, so we're going to dive right into it.
What got you into collecting in the first place?
Sounds like a simple question, but it's not. All right, so what got me into collecting? So, I'm trying to remember. Now it's hard for me to keep track. I think it started back in 2019 when I started my YouTube channel. The first videos that I started was me simply trying to want to recover my childhood memories. So it more so started of, oh, you know, I want my Who Framed Roger Rabbit lunchbox, sorry, the Flintstone mugs and items that I had grown up with as a kid, you know, and it was more of the thrill of the hunt. Just going out there and seeing if I can find it or not. And from there, it slowly escalated into, well, what if I not just collect things that I had when I was a kid, but also take advantage of trying to jump into things that I missed out on back in the day that I just didn't have the opportunity of having. So therefore, you know, I jumped into systems that I didn't own back in the day and started collecting games for those systems. And once you know it, I just kind of jumped into the world of collecting and started learning about the history and the studios and developers and everything that goes behind making a game. So yeah. In that cabinet, but so far it is looking really, really good. And you know what? I'm breaking the rules here. I'm going to show you guys how it looks, honestly. So here you go. So this is the frames that I picked up at Retropalooza last year. It looks so amazing. I love it. I picked up Pac-Man, and I picked up, can't see, you guys see well? Miss Pac-Man. These are the collectibles that I showed you last time, that I'm trying to collect them all, the Miss Pac-Man stuff. And then this over here is my Flintstone vinyl. Y'all remember that? I showed it.
I'm going to throw you a hard one now.
Okay.
What was the first thing you added to your collection?
First thing I added to my collection. Okay, I think. Okay. Wait, is that all? Hold on.
That's the question.
Okay.
Where did your collection begin? What was the first thing that you got?
Okay, so my first item wasn't even an item I got. It was an item that was gifted to me. And because of that one item, that was what initiated my collecting world. So special thanks to my friend Haley. Haley, if you're out there watching this video, thank you. When I got here to Texas, my very first con was Retropalooza. And I got to meet Haley at that con for the very first time. And when I met Haley, we didn't know she didn't know me, I didn't know her. We just met at the con and instantly became best friends. Like, that's it, that's how it was. And I got to hang out with her and her husband during the weekend and just having fun at the con. And I had mentioned to her how much I loved Miss Pac-Man. And you know, back in the day, my dad had gave me a, however you want to call it, Tengen, however you want to call it. But it was the black cartridge for Miss Pac-Man. And I told her I wanted a copy of it. So one day, we were having breakfast and out of nowhere, she pulls out this game that she had purchased at the con and gifted it to me. And she's like, I know you were looking for this. I know how much Miss Pac-Man means to you. So I want to go ahead and gift you this first item for your collection. So if it wasn't because of her, you know, not that I'm trying to make her responsible, but she is technically the one who initiated my collecting journey. So yeah, the very first item was my Miss Pac-Man game.
Okay.
Inside a convention, that's so funny. Okay, let me know.
You go whenever. All right, sorry.
It started?
Yeah, because I got him doing it.
Count.
All right, I'll count down. Ready? 5, 4, 4, 1, 3, go.
All right, guys, here we are again. So we played a high score of. Okay, let's go again.
It was just like blanked out there. I'm like staring at the camera. I'm like,
Let's do it again, bro.
It's a two-part question.
Oh God.
Because there are two things that ZapCristal is known for. And that is 3DS and Resident Evil.
Okay.
So, what got you into collecting for the 3DS?
Okay. Woo. Woo. We're gonna go back. So ever since I was in Puerto Rico, and before even ZapCristal became a thing, I fell in love with the 3DS. I remember Nintendo like marketing for it, and you know, when it was hot, because 3DS was hot back in the day during that time. And I always wanted to have one, but I couldn't afford it. During that time, I just couldn't afford a 3DS. And one of the games that got me wanting to even like pick up a 3DS was Ever Oasis. I remember back in the day when they did a full like gameplay and they started talking about this game, and I looked into it for a little bit, and I was like, wow, I really want a 3DS because I want to play Ever Oasis. And the other game that got me excited for the 3DS during that time was Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. So there was several games like Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, Ever Oasis, Pikmin, and those titles was the things that kept me wanting a 3DS. But like I said, I couldn't afford it. So later on, eventually one day for my birthday, I was like, look, I'm gonna spoil myself. I never really go out of my way of celebrating my birthday. I never really have gifted myself something. So like, what is that one thing I really want that I've never been able to afford it? And all of a sudden it clicked, and I was like, a 3DS. Maybe now's the time that I can jump back into it and finally be a proud owner of one. But you know, by the time I wanted it, the 3DS was already discontinued. It wasn't a hot thing now. It is what it is. It was out there. And me being a retro collector, I'm like, well, you know, now's the opportunity of being able to own stuff I couldn't afford or couldn't own back in the day. So what a great moment then to, you know, pick up a 3DS. So I was on that journey of picking up a 3DS, which you guys already know. I've done a whole series of the 3DS. And at first, my intention wasn't to document my journey. It was just me excited of, after so many years of, wow, I finally got to fulfill my dream of being able to be a proud owner of a 3DS. And I just kind of want to share it out there and put it out there in the world that I finally got a 3DS. But once you know it, I think like happiness is contagious. And once people got to see how excited I actually was of being, for the very first time, a proud owner of the 3DS system and just collecting games for it. And that's where my anxiety kicked into, because knowing that the 3DS was discontinued, I wanted to pick up as many games as I could physically to be able to play it, because I don't know if I'll ever have a chance to see them again. So once you know it, you know, from 2 games, now I have like, I don't know, 300 and something? Over 300 and something titles. But in the beginning, it was never my plans to document it, but I think documenting it has been an incredible experience for me, because I get to see slowly but surely how much my 3DS collection has grown over time. So I did something, y'all. I did something in 2022. I finally jumped back into handhelds, and I picked me up a new Nintendo 2DS XL. And with that being said, let's talk about it. For Resident Evil, it was weird because I've never been a survival horror fan. Like, I was terrified of playing horror games, okay? Believe it or not, I was not the type of girl that would get into horror games. Like, I would let my brother play those games. Like, for me, I was the scaredy pants, you know what I mean? I wasn't into that genre. But one day, Linda the Gamer Girl, which is an amazing content creator who I was friends with back in the day. And I was telling her that I was getting ready to do my first Spookadon marathon. It was during that time I was creating Spookadon for the very first time. And I asked them what was one game they wanted to see me play. And everybody mentioned Resident Evil. And I was like, I've never played a Resident Evil game in my life. So what Resident Evil game do you guys want me to play? And everybody was like, what? You need me to tell me? You've never played a Resident Evil game? How so? Like, I can't believe it, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, they got me to play Resident Evil 7 Biohazard live. And Linda was telling me, I don't know what got you to start 7, because 7 might be the scariest game you're ever gonna dive in from the entire Resident Evil franchise. And, you know, at the beginning, it was me toughening it up and trying to get through this game. But then slowly but surely, I fell in love with Resident Evil. By the end of it, I was like, you know what? I want 7. But now I also want to go back and play these other games and see what Resident Evil is all about. So, you know, it started with them challenging me and stepping out of my comfort zone, to then realizing how much I enjoyed it, and then all of a sudden becoming a fan of Resident Evil. So once you know it, once again, it was not my intentions to document it. I was just like, hey, I wonder how it would feel if I go back and play every single Resident Evil game. And I would like to be accountable, so why don't you guys join me, you know, for the ride? And yeah, here we are with all my Resident Evil games, and being a hardcore Resident Evil fan that I am, and glad that opened the doors for me in other areas, because thanks to this is what, you know, I eventually became a Capcom creator.
So it says, I told you to skip 4, 5, and 6. Ashley just tagging along silent, no gun, no help. She ain't doing crap. And then wasting my first aid spray too. Cause all she does, I swear to God, all she does is this. This is what she does. I swear to God, I'm so pissed at Ashley. This is what she does. Hold up. Leah!
So now we're going to ask some collection-specific questions. We're going to have a little fun.
Okay.
We're going to, first question.
Okay.
What is, and you don't have to tell me the amount, but what is the most expensive item in your collection?
The most expensive? Well, my most expensive game obviously would be, I don't know if y'all can see that over here, but Resident Evil Gaiden. So this is for the Game Boy Color. This was not a game that, it was distributed by Capcom, but Capcom didn't necessarily work on this game. I forgot the studio right now, take it with a grain of salt. But it's one of those games that you can play as Barry for the very first time as the main protagonist. And the cool thing about this game is that you not only play as Barry, but you get to control a squad. So you also get Leon and another girl called Lucia in this game, and you get to control all 3 of them pretty much. So it's very different, and the reason why I love this game is because it's impressive what they were capable of pulling off on the Game Boy Color for its time. So it's a pretty interesting game. I would definitely recommend everybody checking out. Probably not purchasing it because it is expensive. So long story short, I Frankenstein this, so it would be way more realistic financially. But CIB complete, it goes over $1,000. So we're looking at around $1,200, $1,300 perhaps CIB. And that would be box, game, and your instruction booklet. So yeah.
So now that's your most expensive one.
Yeah.
And you kind of guessed where I was going with it, but what is the most cherished item in your collection?
Oh, God.
It may not might be the most expensive, but it's the one that in your heart.
One of them would be my Magnavox VCR at the very top. It's my clear purple VCR that I own. One of the reasons why it's very hard to find, period. But two, back in the day when color was a thing, I always wanted something, you know, clear, colorful. Obviously N64s, you know, it was a thing. The CD players, when it used to be a thing as well. There was a lot of stuff that was like, hey, you can get it in color. It was how exciting, you know, even the GameCube during that time. So I always wanted a Magnavox clear purple VCR. And once I got to finally purchase one, it just made my day. I don't really have another reason for it. That's mainly what it was. I just always wanted to own one. Finally got to own one. That's one item I'm never gonna get rid of. So yeah, that's one. Hey guys, this is ZapCristal in the house again with another video, and this is part of our series, Treasures from My Childhood. Now we're going to switch things up because we've been talking about games, boys and girls, but today we're going to talk about other 90s nostalgia that I consider as well to be treasures from my childhood. And you can see it right here, guys. You can see this beautiful collection of VHS. Now this is going directly to Dizzy. I know you asked me on my last stream if we had video cassettes, DVDs, Blu-rays, and here you go. This is a complete collection of VHS.
All right, this last one might be a little tricky. I'm gonna throw it at you anyway.
Oh God.
Is there an item that is missing from your collection that you want to obtain? And if it is, what is it? Is there like that one item that you're like, this is one thing I've always been trying to find?
Yeah, I do. There is one thing. So it has nothing to do with games, by the way. It has nothing to do with games. There's this TV show that if you guys remember, I used to collect a lot of VHS back in the day for it, and it was the dinosaur show. So there is this baby plushie that I say plushie, but it was a big ass toy that you can throw at somebody and literally knock them out because that's how heavy it was. But it had that cord in the back that when you pull it, it would say a line, baby would say a line. I have pictures actually of this when, you know, back in the day I was a little girl. I used to actually have one of these. And for the longest, I've been searching for it and I can't find it anywhere. So I know I might need to sell a leg and an arm if I ever do find it, because I don't know how much they're going for, but I do know it's not cheap. But it's one of those items that if I could find it, I would definitely not even think it twice and would purchase it and add it to my collection. So yeah, if anybody has it, hit me up.
And this is the last collection specific question we're going to ask today. So here we go. About how, as far as your games are concerned, on a scale of 1 to 10, how many of your games have you actually played?
Oh God, this is the ongoing collector question. On a scale from 1 to 10.
Yeah, 10 being all of the games, 1 being none of the games. Where would you rank in?
I would place myself somewhere in between, so a 5, because I do collect games to eventually play them. I don't necessarily am the type of collector, no shame in that, right? But I'm not the type of collector that just has a shelf piece. For me, it's more so of I want to play the games. So I have played some of the games I have owned, but at the same time, I haven't played them all. So like, that's the main reason why I started my 3DS journey, because I mean, that's the whole goal of wanting to be accountable and kind of finally transition from the phase of being just a collector to now being a gamer, like in my good old days, and playing all of my games, because surprisingly, I am a hardcore gamer. I just haven't been able to share it to the world as much. And I feel like this year it's been slightly different thanks to my live streams and stuff, where I've been exposing more of that side of me, and through my videos now recently, where people actually get to see what I like and how much I enjoy gaming as a whole, you know. So I don't really have a preference. Does that sound fair? 5, I guess?
That would be half of your collection.
Half of my collection.
5 would be half of your
Which
collection.
sounds about right, because with my Resident Evil marathon, I have played a good chunk of my Resident Evil games. So, yeah.
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
so now we're going to get to the big topic of discussion for today.
Okay.
Over there, I'm noticing that your shelf is a little empty over there.
Yes, it is.
So it seems that recently you have downsized your collection.
Oh boy.
So the first question we're going to ask regarding to that is, what did you get rid of?
What? Yeah, a lot. Quite a bit I got rid of. Okay. So this sounds funny, but this is taking me back to my very first videos where I initiated my collection. Because back in the day, I only had one shelf. And that's slowly but surely, from one shelf, it grew into 4 shelves. And then a display cabinet. It was like a glass display where I had all of my holy possessions, my holy grail items, like I like to call it. So in other words, I had a lot. I had a lot. I've downsized probably 3 or 4 times. So this is definitely not the first time I've downsized as a collector. And even downsizing, I still haven't gotten rid of a good chunk. So that should show you how much stuff I really had. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what I got rid of, but mainly the stuff I got rid of is things that I knew deep down inside I don't have no emotional attachment to it. So, you know, when I wanted to cleanse and downsize, I started thinking to myself, this was my thinking process. I said, I pulled out a cardboard box and I was like, okay, you know, if you can put things in the box and easily get rid of, then that means it probably shouldn't be in your collection. You know, the things that you can't put in the box means the opposite as well. It's things that you know deep down inside you can't get rid of no matter what. So therefore they hold a high sentimental value, nostalgia, whatever you want to call it, for yourself as a collector. So, you know, it basically started as that. I just pulled out a box and just started throwing stuff in this box. And once you know it, I downsized quite a bit, because I was like, yeah, you know, I can live without these things. And, you know, I took it to a good place. It's in good hands now. You know, other people can now enjoy it. But for me, it was important to detox, because I think as a collector, we get caught up into what's the next, and oh, I can just add this. And once you know it, it just came to the point that for me as a collector, it got out of control. And when I had to move to a new location, that's when I realized I got a lot of stuff. You know, I got a lot of stuff, and this is becoming a burden, you know, because movers, packing your stuff, worried that it doesn't have any water damage or receive any damage while you're moving it to another place, worried about it not being stolen, having to put an insurance over your stuff because you want to secure these things, you know, and then coming to even like deep provoking thoughts of, well, what happens if I pass away, you know, if I die, and what am I going to do with my collection? Who is it going to? Am I going to sell it? How do my family want to deal with it? You know, or do my family want nothing to do with it? So therefore I got to figure out what I'm going to do with it, you know? So you start thinking about all these things. And for me, the simple answer to it was, let me downsize. And I wouldn't say downsize was an issue for me, because it allowed me to be more focused and concentrated more on, how do I say it? It's so hard. It let me curate my collection. So I was able to curate my collection and concentrated on things that for me mean something. And yeah, I don't know where I want to go with it. It's kind of hard to explain that from a collector standpoint, but I think what well, now I found the words for it. I curated my collection to my ZapCristal history. So every item I look at reminds me from the beginning, the middle, and to where I am right now. Which is very interesting because I didn't plan it that way, but that's how I curated my collection. Yeah.
You kind of already answered my next question, which was why. So you kind of already answered that. So we're going to have to go into new territory.
Okay.
All right. So 2 questions. It's a 2-parter. First thing is, what is to other collectors out there, what do you say is the positives of being a gaming collector versus the negatives of being a collector from your personal experience?
Okay, so I guess I'll start with the positives. That way we don't focus on the negatives, right? Okay, so the positives of being a collector, a gaming collector. Okay, so the positives of being a gaming collector, which I've talked about in another video of mine, by the way, is that it's allowed me to connect with other people that share the same interest and passion as I do for collecting. So because of collecting, you know, I got to meet so many great people like 8-Bit Eric, my good friend 16-Bit Pete, you know, John Houston, Pixel Dan, and I can go on and so forth. You know, I got to meet and connect with all these grand content creators that are also collectors, and we basically had each other's back. So, you know, because of the interest and the passion that we had for collecting, we were able to let each other know, like, hey, I'm looking for this item, or, you know, if you're game hunting or you're out there somewhere at a store, you know, remember that if you stumble across this item, you know, hit me up, give me a call, text me, let me know. And once you know it, friendships were developed because of it. So, you know, from each other's collection, we would gift each other items that meant something to us. Like, for example, Retro Rick, he gifted me a long time ago Miss Pac-Man for the SNES, complete in box with the booklet and stuff, because he knows I'm a Miss Pac-Man collector. So he knew how much that meant to me. So he actually pulled that item out of his collection and gave it to me. He didn't have to do it, but because we have a friendship, you know, he knew that it was going to someone who was going to treasure it at the end of the day. So yeah, I say, if anything, when it comes to positives, for me, it was precisely that, being able to connect with people. Following up, another positive was going to cons. You know, if I wasn't into collecting, I don't think I would have visited as many cons as I have till this day. You know, so going to every con, collecting gave me the excitement and the motive of, okay, I'm going to this con. What is that one item I'm searching for? What am I looking for that I want to add to my collection? And it gave me a reason to go, you know? So while I was at the con, I was game hunting and excited of, oh my God, you know, am I going to stumble across this item? If I'm not going to stumble, and then you would share once again, you know, your goals and your motive to other friends, and they would be on the lookout too, you know. And then at the con, it'd be, oh, Crystal, at this booth, go, hurry up, you know, there's the item you're looking for, and I think it's good, you should go get it, you know, and you know what I mean. So because of it, it also allowed me to go to cons. The third thing that I would say, I would keep it under 3 reasons, obviously, is that it allowed me to hone my skills as a content creator and as a gamer. So I learned to appreciate more the history of gaming in general. I learned a lot about companies, about studios, developers. The reason why I know so much about it is because of collecting, because when you collect games, you find out in what year it was developed, who created it, what was the story behind it, and you appreciate it more for not only the game, but also like looking at the box, the artwork, the booklet, the music, you know, every detail that went into creating the game you love. So yeah, for me, I see gaming differently nowadays because I'm not only just there as a consumer, but I'm also there as being part of the industry. So I get to share that excitement and that information with people, so other consumers can also get excited for those products. So yeah, if anything, collecting has actually helped me hone and learn more about just gaming in general. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the negatives. All right. So the negative of collecting would have to be just fluctuation. Just it's a very expensive hobby. It's a very expensive hobby that if you don't have the means, I would definitely not recommend jumping into it, because it just depends what system you're going for, what games you're going for. The reality of it is that there's games even though we all want and would love to own in our collection, we're never going to afford it. You know, we're never going to afford that Panic Restaurant, that Little Samson, you know, you name it. I can go on with a lot of expensive games that it is what it is. They're pretty expensive. So you got to sell a leg and an arm to get it, you know, and you have to be responsible financially. So, you know, if you're taking away from the money that's supposed to go to your, you know, the bills of the house, taking care of the children, groceries and all that stuff, this can quickly get in the way. And somebody who doesn't have self-control will push them to make bad decisions, you know. And I unfortunately have seen that. I've seen a lot of close friends of mine that, you know, their marriage was destroyed, or, you know, they were financially in debt because they stopped paying or making car payments and used the money instead towards a game. Or, you know, they pretty much used up all their credit cards just because they felt like they were missing out on an opportunity. So they had to jump on it at the moment without reflecting what were going to be the consequences in the future of this investment they were making in the moment. You know, so, you know, financially it is kind of hard as a collector, because you have to be in the right mindset and headspace to know if you can be a collector or not, or if this is something that's just going to bring you heartaches and you should step away from it. So it's definitely a negative. I say the last thing about collecting is that unfortunately people tie this to their self-worth and status. That is one thing that I'm not saying everybody does it, but you know, you see a lot of groups of collectors that their self-esteem is low, or they just need that validation or self-approval. So they're quick about posting pictures or of the most expensive or rare game they found, just because they want that immediate reaction of people of like me, validate me, because I own this game, so therefore I'm somebody. So yeah.
Okay. All right, we're getting ready to wrap this up. So we just got 2 more questions to end this.
Okay.
The first question will be, as someone who's starting a collection or wants to get into collecting or starting their collection journey, what is the number one advice you would give them?
Well, number one advice I would give you is set your finances straight. I would say, you know, once again, I've done a lot of videos, guys, about this actually, of how to start a collection, you know. The same way you set a budget for your bills, for, you know, for traveling. I think it's 30%. I will later on post that, but it's 30% of your budget you set apart for entertainment. And entertainment might include your hobbies. So if you set that amount, then you're always going to make sure that all the rest of your other needs in the household are met, and you'll still have a little bit of what I call play money. So that's your play money. You can do whatever you want with it. And if you have a hobby like this and you're into collecting games, then you know that this is your budget, and this is what you have and what you can spend on. So that's something I treated like almost like the Bible. But also, another thing I would say is, and this is something I did a lot actually, and has kept me away from making the wrong decisions when it comes to picking up and making purchases, right? If you're at a con, if you're at a store, whatever it may be, whenever you find an item that you want for your collection, I would say make sure you have 2 or 3 times the amount that they're requesting for this item. If you have 2 or 3 times the amount, that means you can actually afford this game. If you don't have 2 or 3 times the amount, then it's simple. You shouldn't probably purchase the game, because maybe later on, the actions you're taking today will affect any future decisions or investments you need to make. So, unfortunately, it is what it is. Sometimes I've wanted a game really bad in my collection, but let's face it, it's $500, $600. I don't have $1,200 to drop on a game. So I've had to say no at times, and it's okay to say no. I think, get over it. That's what emulation is for. Digital games, other means, just figure it out. If you just want to play the game, you'll find a way to play it.
All right, and the final question for today: are you done collecting?
I want to say yes, but no, I'm not. I'm not, because every time I go to a con, I find these really unique, rare games for my 3DS or something. I'm like, ooh, I've never heard of this title before. And once you know it, I end up picking it up. So am I fully done? No. Have I been collecting at the same pace that I used to before? No. I've slowed down, and I'm more meticulous of what I put into my collection. So I kind of have this rule that if I put something in, I take something out. So because I don't want to take something out, then I'm more careful of what I put in my collection. So yeah, I'm not fully done.
Well, thank you for your time, Ms. ZapCristal, and this is a wonderful interview.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, finally, the video that I've promised, answering all these questions about my collection journey. If you want to check out from where it started to where it is right now, I'm going to link this playlist so you can check it out and be part of the journey, be part of my ZapCristal journey. So with that being said, stay rad and game on. Right? For me, it was back in the day when Nickelodeon, Nick. Yeah, y'all remember that, right? Saturday morning and Friday nights, I would sit down and just watch a rerun of Hey Arnold, Flintstones, and you name it, including the Rugrats.